Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a completely counterintuitive trick to become the absolute most liked person in any room you walk into. If you've ever felt that creep of social anxiety in a new group, or felt like you're just kinda trying way too hard to make a good impression, well, you're in the exact right place. We're gonna break down the exact mechanics of what's known as the spotlight shift.
Section 1, the 30-second trap. Let's look at exactly why we lose people's attention and face a pretty brutal reality check about how we naturally communicate.
30. That number, right there, that's a hard boundary in human psychology. If you talk about yourself for more than 30 seconds when you meet someone new, you literally completely lose their attention, period. I mean, think about the last networking event or party you went to. When someone launches into this massive monologue about their own achievements, your eyes just kind of glaze over, right? We all do it. And yet, when we're the ones feeling a bit nervous, our default defense mechanism is to just ramble about ourselves to prove our worth.
So what's the actual fix here? Well, stop trying to be interesting. Frankly, it usually just comes off as cringe. It's a bit harsh, I know, but it's true. When you try to be the most fascinating person in the room, it feels forced, and it honestly just pushes people away. We have to totally flip the script on how we approach our social dynamics. Which brings us to our core philosophy for today. Seek to impress by making others feel impressive. That right there is the spotlight shift. Instead of shining that spotlight directly on yourself, you physically and conversationally turn that light onto the person you're actually talking to. Because here's the secret. When you elevate someone else, you naturally and subconsciously rise way higher in their estimation.
Moving on to Section 2, the science of likability. Let's look at the actual neuroscience backing all of this up, because this isn't just cheap social manipulation. This is hard biology.
To understand why this works so well, we gotta talk about mirror neurons and something called the liking gap. Basically, these are the brain mechanisms that govern how we subconsciously connect as humans. When we reflect someone's behavior, their brain automatically registers us as safe, familiar, and empathetic. And the liking gap? That's this fascinating psychological phenomenon where people actually like us way more than we think they do after a first conversation. So by focusing entirely on them, we bypass our own insecurities and tap directly into their natural biological desire to just feel understood. Standard small talk, asking about the weather or the traffic on the way over, that does absolutely nothing for our neurochemistry. But when you ask deep questions, you literally cause the other person's brain to release dopamine. And as you probably know, dopamine is the reward chemical. That means when you shift the spotlight to them with a meaningful question, they feel physically rewarded by your presence. You are quite literally making them feel good on a cellular level. How wild is that? So how do we actually trigger this reward system consistently out there in the real world? That brings us to Section 3, the 4 spotlight pillars. These are the 4 pillars of the spotlight shift. We've got the deep follow-up, active silence, verbal mirrors, and name retention. These 4 tactical behaviors, when you put them all together, will instantly rewire your social dynamics. We're going to walk through each of these step by step so you can literally start using them today. All right, pillar 1 is the deep follow-up. This basically means entirely skipping the basic robotic, how are you, or what do you do stuff. Instead, you genuinely listen to their initial answer and ask something highly specific. Like, let's say they mention they work in finance. Don't just ask where they work. Ask something like, so what specifically made you choose that career? This proves you're actually listening, right? And it invites them to share their real passions and motivations, which absolutely triggers that dopamine hit we were just talking about. Next up, pillar 2, active silence. Now, this is where most people fail, but the steps are incredibly specific. Step 1, you lean in physically. When you ask that deep follow-up we just mentioned, shift your body weight slightly forward. This tiny physical cue tells their mirror neurons, hey, I am entirely focused on you right now. Step 2, and this is the hard part for some of us, shut up completely while they speak. Do not interject with your own relatable story. Do not totally them to death. Just lean in, hold eye contact, and give them the gift of total, uninterrupted silence. It makes them feel incredibly important. Moving on to pillar 3, verbal mirrors. This is an absolutely spectacular tool to keep the spotlight on them without you having to frantically think of some brilliant new question. You simply echo the exact last 3 words they just said back to them, but with a slightly inquisitive tone. Let me demonstrate how this works. If the speaker tells you, and honestly, after all that work, the whole deal fell apart, you do not say, oh wow, that reminds me of a time my deal fell apart. Nope.
You just pause, look right at them, and gently ask, "Whole deal fell apart?" Seriously, by just mirroring those last 3 words, they will naturally elaborate. They feel deeply heard, and they are completely encouraged to just keep sharing.
And our fourth pillar is name retention. They say the sweetest sound to anyone in any language is their own name. And it's totally true. So here is a little challenge for you. Try to use their name twice in the very first minute of meeting them. For example, you get introduced. "Hi, I'm Sarah." You reply, "Sarah, so nice to meet you." And then, just a few seconds later, you drop it in again. "So Sarah, what brings you to this event?" Doing this instantly cements the connection in their brain and shows a super high level of social competence and genuine care. Okay, theory is great, but let's talk application. Section 4, Spotlight in Real Life, and how we actually adapt all of this to our everyday environment. The beautiful thing here is that these pillars adapt perfectly to literally any environment. Say you're in a meeting. You can use the deep follow-up to highlight a colleague's point, which instantly makes you look like a highly collaborative leader. What about being on a date? Well, utilizing active silence and verbal mirrors ensures your date feels genuinely fascinating, which triggers intense chemistry and that awesome dopamine reward. And with your boss, retaining their name and asking deep follow-ups about their strategic vision makes them feel incredibly respected and impressive. Leveraging these exact pillars in any scenario totally shifts the focus off your own anxieties and builds instant, undeniable likability.
That brings us to Section 5, your deep follow-up challenge. It is time to take action and actually put this counterintuitive trick into practice, because as we all know, knowledge is only power if you actually use it.
So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative challenge so you can test out this dopamine effect for yourself. Will you commit to totally focusing on someone else and asking a deep follow-up question today? Just one. Stop trying to be interesting. Start trying to make others feel impressive. I promise you, the moment you shift that spotlight, you'll be amazed at how quickly the room lights up for you. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, good luck out there.